Welcome back to the talk, episode number 2. Where were we? Yeah? So, the latest time, episode number 1, we just stopped when the band Arcadia, so my band, basically since I was a kid, got the first contract with No Brain Records to record the debut album, which is called Synth. And we basically almost moved to Venice, Italy, because we were going kind of back and forward, really. For a couple of months, 2, 3, 4 months. So the recording sessions, they started in February 2001 through March, April, and May, and then we got the album basically mixed in the beginning of June 2001. The album was released in September 2001 by No Brain Records together with Self-Distribution, which was actually at that time, and I believe it's still nowadays in a way, the biggest, one of the biggest distribution in Italy for independent record labels. The recording session on the album was not easy, because even if the band recorded already probably 3-4 demos up to that point, 3 demos. Anyways, was still new to the studio. It's not like nowadays everybody have a home studio and they get kind of used to record and they get used to go through the process or recording, which requires a lot of trial and error. You learn, and also, it's something related to the emotions. When you're there recording, everybody are looking at you and stuff like that. It was a completely different story. So it's something that all the bands from that time, they know what I'm talking about. And even bands from this time, when you sit down and you need to deal with the producer, it's for the first time, for the first, the second, and third time, it's kind of critical in a way. It takes a little bit of time to get used to that. So, the recording session was kind of complicated for different reasons, and for everybody in the band, I remember, even if I was the one probably who had more cold blood recording, we had a lot of troubles. We had a lot of troubles also because of the recording studio, honestly, but above all because the band was still new to this kind of studio work. And I remember we left, me and the drummer Eduardo Nicodemo, one morning in February, and with a small Fiat Panda car, we drove all the way with the drums in the back to Venice from Vercelli, which is in the north of Italy, also Venice, of course. And our homework, we talked to the producers and stuff, our homework was to find out the BPMs of the songs. But we never really played with clicks, so we figured that we could play in the studio with click, but we never really used the click. I never really used the click. I had the click, I had the metronome, which we used during the trip to find out the tempo of the songs. We never rehearsed like that. And we were we were singing the song, dun, 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 dun. We were like, oh, this is about 120 BPMs, And we were young people or young men around 21 years old. So, that was the first approach to the professional recording. But the record came out killer, I think. If you think about the potential of the band at that time, and the real winning part of the album or the band at that time was the heaviness and the aggression and all those kind of, the energy was not exactly like the the technique, or even if the technique was getting better and better because we were rehearsing more and more. So basically, the recording is going okay, and the gear we used in the studio was, we still had the old drums, which was a Remo, I remember it was a Remo gray, a gray Remo, with one bass drums. He was using the double bass. The double bass was kind of old school, so it was kind of difficult to go fast, and we were playing a lot of fast things, you know, and it was difficult for the trigger to detect the sound of the kick drums. And they had a lot of troubles to get the sound of the drums out, you know, in the studio. I mean, a decent sound. So after trying for probably 3 days, I remember, which is crazy, I think, we didn't get anything good out from the drums. But it was good drums. I mean, at that time we say, oh yeah, the drums is not good. It sucks. But it's not. I mean, the problem was somewhere else. But the point is, we went for, okay, you know what, we're going to trigger the whole drums except for the cymbals, which bands like Fear Factory or a lot of bands, extreme bands at the time, they were doing, and they are doing still nowadays. So we didn't really care about the sound of the drums. We just recorded acoustically with the trigger on. And then we did the editing. The editing was kind of difficult. Don't ask me why, but there was a lot of confusion in the studio. A lot of really funny moments because of that. Some other moments were kind of difficult to deal with, but whatever. We made it through. The drums was sounding killer. And then we did the guitars. The guitars, I used 2 7-strings. One was with the EMG pickups, which was actually the first choice in the beginning. But then we just figured out that the other guitar that I had, which was a 7-string Steve Vai model with DiMarzio. DiMarzio, probably Blade is called, the pickups. It was sounding way better. So we went for the second choice. So I probably re-recorded the guitars twice, as long as I remember, and I recorded both the guitars. We were 2 guitar players at the time, but I believe 95% or 90% of the album was recorded by me, of course, including the solos. And yeah, then, you know, we recorded bass and was kind of smooth. It was kind of difficult to get the right sound out, but then we figured that anyways, the most important thing was done. The guitars were done and the drums were done, and the album was focused on those 2 instruments. The bass was, of course, following the drums and making sure that the low end was taken care of, but the aggression was coming from the guitars, the drums, and the vocals. And the vocals recording was problematic, especially for the clean vocals. But the screaming vocals, they came out killer. And that was the most important thing for us at that time. And not just for us, for a lot of people who loved the album afterwards. And I believe it's still probably the most loved album of the band. So the album was released in September 2001. And was supposed to be released with the video inside, which we did together with the record label, but the record label did a mistake and the video got lost. So, you know, things can happen. We were not really satisfied with what happened, but we were thinking, okay, whatever, we keep going. So we actually, the way that the record label fixed this issue was to include a sticker on the album, which was saying that the video was downloadable for free from the website of the band, I believe, or the record label. I don't remember right now. Never mind, because the video was not exactly the best video in the world. It was the beginning. It was still 2001. It was difficult to do a low-budget video. Nowadays, it would be way easier. But it was one of the first band in Italy, underground metal, extreme metal band doing a video anyway. So I lost track of the video, but it would be cool to find out where it is right now, to check it out a little bit. So the album comes out and in September 2001, and we got in touch with a couple of booking agency to start a tour. But really, I mean, the most part of the gigs, it was me booking those gigs. But we had the chance to open for the Rollins Band in February 2002. And we played a couple of cool gigs at that time. Then we were called to play the New Metal Fest, which was a festival which was happening in different kind of network festival happening in different parts of Italy with the biggest underground modern metal bands. But the real change happened when we got in touch with an American manager who started to promote the band overseas, and for some reasons the Synth album had a really good feedback from the US. So we were called to play a festival which is called Sun and Steel Metal Festival in Florida, which was a game changer in a way, because that was something that honestly I have been waiting for a long time. And then we left there, and a lot of people knew already the band because they did a really good promotion, and people loved the band, and there was also like some record labels interested in in releasing the album, things that never happened for some reasons. I don't know why. At the same time, we started to record new music, and the thing that was peculiar about this band was that we never really wanted to do the same thing over and over again, which was a really brave attitude, because it's in this environment, especially in 2001, it's really difficult to just drastically change the kind of music you play. With drastically change, I don't mean like going from extreme metal to pop music or jazz. But since me and Eduardo, we were practicing a lot our instruments, and we were attending the music college in Milan, we learned a lot about technique and different other languages in music. And we wanted to include everything in something that we were working on. So and also there was this current of new metal coming from overseas a bit later, really, because it was before YouTube and before the Internet 2.0, like we want to call it today, or 3.0 or 4.0. I have no idea up to this point. I lost track. But so we started to do different music, different songs. More progressive, less inspired by the bands like Fear Factory, Machine Head, and those kind of things. More original in a way, or at least more personal. And I believe actually it was the right way to go for that band, because not long after that, a lot of technical bands came out, like Dillinger, Escape Plan. And nowadays we have Between the Bird and Me, and Periphery, and Animals as Leaders, and all those kind of things. But I think that actually it was a good intuition for us to just move that way. As we are going to talk about later on, we changed line and style again, because we found it was really difficult to sell the band at that time, which I didn't really agree at the time, and I would agree even less today. But when you are in a band, you need to think that you are in a democracy, you're in a collective, and you cannot really decide for everybody, of course. But let's go back to us. In the US, we play this festival. A lot of bands are there. Testament, Decide, Obituary, Prong, and a lot of death metal bands really famous from Florida, which is the capital of death metal. And then Trivium were there, and they were playing before us. I remember I was talking to Matt of Trivium, and the band Trivium was still unknown. I mean, even if they had a big following, because I remember that a lot of people were there to see them, so in the underground scene they were really known. But then they blew up as a band. Like in the next 3-4 months, it was incredible, the escalation to the success they had. When we live to the US, we make sure that we bring some new material with us. So we had the promo, we have our album, Synth. We still had some copies, even if the album was basically sold out. And we make this 4, 5, 6, or 7 promo CD, which was called Trip to the Sun, because the next album, this album number 2, was supposed to be called Trip to the Sun, which was demo recorded in our studio. It was the first time we were doing recording, and I listened to that like probably 3, 4, 6 weeks ago or something. It actually didn't sound so bad to be the first product with it, so I might be posting something about that. But then basically we took this material and we made another album, which is called Fracture Concrete, which is going to be the next subject for episode number 3 of the talk.